Hello everyone, today we're doing a quick update on Bitcoin. I really want to get straight into this because we're having a pretty big pump right now, and I think it's important to cover what we should do next. So as always, let's start with what I had told you in the last video. As you can see in my last video, when we were still chilling at around 110,000, I was telling you to wait for a long at about 107,000. So I had this anchor VWAP right here, this volume range, which gave us this nice point of control. And I was telling you that I would have been patient for a bounce around this area. I was talking about the short trade that I had opened at 120, and I was telling you how I was patient for this level to be hit. As you can see, I even give you a little drawing, and even on the Discord, I was telling you that I was buying 107, and of course, I was giving you all the targets with the take profits. And as you can see, with some patience, that is exactly what we got. My level hit, and eventually we got the move up to 113,000. And at the moment, we are trying to go again for those 113,000. Then same for Ethereum. I had given you this short trade initially when we were still at 4,600, telling you I was expecting the level of 4,300 to be hit and that I would have taken a long there. I will show you inside my account. So as you can see, Ethereum, I had the short trade at 4,600. You can see it right here. I didn't make much money out of it. It was just a hedge position. At the moment, I'm making about $600. But as you can see, the entry was perfect and I was waiting for 4,300. And once we got to 4,300, as you can see, I started buying again. I took a little take profit here and then I bought again 4,300. And that is why I have a new position on Ethereum where I'm currently making about $600 that I bought at 4,300. So the scenario that I've given you in my Discord is playing out exactly as I wanted to see. We had the move down from the short, 4,300. This should have been a take profit, which is exactly what I did and what I told you guys to do. And then from here is where I have now entered a long trade. And I will explain a little bit further later. But now let's cover Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has kind of been ranging in the last week. Obviously, as I just showed you, I have the long trade from 107. So I'm chilling. I'm just holding, waiting for higher prices. However, we need to be aware of where we could reject and where we could open a short trade. So as you can see, we have been ranging here, right here. And as you can see, we have been range low, range high, range low here has been taken, a little bit of a fake out, which is when you go under, you go back above. You could have traded this as a long. I mean, this was originally the long either way. Then we proceeded for range high, where we took the liquidity, as you can see, right here. And this would have been a short down to the middle of the channel, so of the range. And that's where now we found support and we are now going for what it seems to be range high. So for me here, I would remain aware of the liquidity that we have here. We clearly have this anchor VWAP from the all-time high that is coming up. And as you can clearly see, we have this value area high from which we are currently rejecting actually, which could offer all this area a nice resistance. Do I honestly expect this to hit and go completely down for a new low? To be honest, no, that's not the highest probability in my opinion. But I will still remain aware of this because if we do touch this level and we grab the liquidity, I will be interested in taking a short position. As always, you should know by now if you watch my videos that I only take trades based on reactions. So if this simply goes through the levels, I am not interested in taking anything. If we start having many wicks above the level and we can't break through, eventually on a break of market structure or some type of trigger, I will be taking the short trade. If this fails, the next short trade, which I think is interesting, is at around 115,000. So right here, once again, we do not simply short blindly. We wait for the reaction, we see how price reacts, and this could be a potential new short trade. And why am I talking to you about short trades? Because one, we already secured our long from the bottom. This could be a really good bottom. Not gonna lie, like this looks really good. But in case this fails, if for some reason, because obviously we cannot predict, nothing is sure in trading. If for some reason the price decides to go back down from here, honestly, as I've talked about in my other video, I do expect a much bigger move to the downside, around first 96,000. And if we are to lose 96,000, now I don't have my analysis, but I believe I was looking at something around 85,000. So it would really not look good for Bitcoin, which is why I think we should be careful and try to secure some short trades because you never know what could happen in the market and you do want to be protected. And if once again we don't get the reaction that we want and this simply blasts through, gets a backtest, we can expect a potential new short trade at around 118,000. That is the point of control of this big range that we've been in. And I think this could be a good way to protect. Even though we get a short trade here, I would still try to take profit along the way, because even if we get a nice rejection here, I would expect this to hold as support and perhaps move higher to a new all-time high. However, as I've explained, I prefer to take the short trade, because if we do reject here and this does not hold as support, we could literally just keep on going down, make a new low. Perhaps we go back to 95,000, as I was explaining. So I'd rather be protected and have the position. And if not, if this just keeps on going up, even if I took the short trade, don't forget that I have my long trade from here, which is going to keep on printing. These are all positions that I might take just to protect myself. So I hope it's pretty clear that those will be my points of interest for a short, which once again, I will only take in case of a bearish reaction. And I will explain this one more time. This could be, for example, that we start ranging around here. We have a little SFP of liquidity right here, close back below, and this would be the trigger to my short trade. Or for example, we hit the level, we start ranging, we break market structure on the 30 minutes, we can start taking our short trade right here. And also, obviously, checking the order flow, seeing if there are so many longs. For example, if people are going to start longing so much into this support, I would see that as bearish. You do not want to be like everybody else and be longing the resistances. And that will be fuel if people keep on messing up to bring the price lower in order to liquidate them. So, there's various factors that I will be looking at where I will decide whether or not to take the short trade. And trust me when I tell you that just waiting for a trigger like this, or even just a market structure, will improve your win rate by quite a lot. Another reason why I like this 118 as a short trade is because we did perfectly bounce off of the 0.66 Fibonacci, and whenever this happens, you can start looking at harmonic patterns. And as you can see, we have this lining up perfectly with our point of resistance. And that's where we can start looking at something like this, which would still bring us to a new low. However, from here, we would expect a big bounce, perhaps to a new all-time high. Then, long trade. The positive thing here is that if we do not get this short trade and we actually have a bullish reaction, which is the one I'm hoping for, considering that I've been long. I can show you my account right now, actually. As you can see, I closed most of my short trade on Bitcoin that I took on 122,000. I made about 1,000 profit, and now I am long. I have about $32,000 long. I already took half of it, so that was about $60,000 position, and I still have $1,250 open that I am hoping to take it much higher. So clearly, as you can see, I am leaning much more bullish, and I'm hoping for a move up. If we can see this reclaim here of this value area low of the bigger range, and the reclaim of this anchor VWAP right here, so something like this, then the target ultimately becomes 120,000. So would I long here? Obviously the answer is no. I mean, I'm not gonna wait for a breakout and a retest to long this, because I already am long from the bottom. However, if you do not have a long, this would be the right idea, to wait for this to break, retest. Perhaps you can wait again for a trigger like I've explained, and then take the long trade. Why do I not like this so much? Because obviously I don't really long at resistances. As I've explained, at resistance, I look for a short, which is why I'm telling you about this short of 113,000. And I look for longs at support. So yeah, you could do this if you have that type of move, and this would be a valid long. However, you would have to be really good at it, and you would have to manage your risk very well. Once again, take profit. You would take profit here because there's the chance of rejecting, and then you would take another profit right here. So yes, I do still think that it's much more probable that we flip this level, flip it into support, move up to 118,000, perhaps we reject here, then we bounce again for the value area high, since we've been accepted here in this range. And I do ultimately expect a new all-time high on Bitcoin eventually, but I'm obviously planning to protect myself at these important levels. 1, 2, and 3. And I can confidently take these short trades because I'm already long. So whatever happens, I don't really care. I keep on making money if the price goes up, and I take a small short trade loss. And I can do that multiple times until perhaps I do get the right short trade at 118,000. And then by then I will have taken more take profit here. I will have taken more take profit here. And I will be balanced in a way where perhaps I'm more protected for the short trade, so that if the price keeps on going down at that point, I will make even more money. So I hope it's clear. I know I've been repetitive about it, but I really hope that it's clear now. And of course, always keep in mind the typical scenario that I talk about when we go to all-time highs, where we take the previous high, do a failed auction or an SFP. And once again, if the same thing happens here, I will be interested in doing the same thing. Failed auction, I will take the short from all-time high in order to always stay protected. This is just a reminder. I don't think we need to worry about this now, but yeah. So then Ethereum, as you know, I am long on Ethereum right now. I did actually call a little short trade here once again after taking this one, which I didn't take, but I did say be very careful, because if we are to reject, this is where we would reject. That's exactly what happened. And if this is not to hold, as I've explained many times, my next interesting point for Ethereum is about 3,800. As I've said in my previous video, I still expect Ethereum to go to $5,000 at one point. And I would say that if we can get a long entry here, this would be, I think, very, very nice, very probable to play out. So if we're lucky enough to get this retrace, I think I would be taking a big position on Ethereum, probably spot or maybe leverage. I would look to buy 100 to 200, maybe $300,000 right here to take this to 5,000, because I'm pretty confident that at one point we will be trading above 5,000. So yeah, those are my points of interest. Of course, Ethereum, same thing. I mean, as you can see here, we had the failed auction, could have taken the short. Same here, you had a little SFP, you could have taken the short here. Obviously, if we are to move up and do the same thing, do look for a short trade. Very, very simple. I can guarantee you these simple strategies will be more profitable than any other thing. The only problem with this area is that at the moment, since Bitcoin has put a very good low, I think it might be unlikely for another move down. But if we do get it, be very aware that this can be a very good long trade. So yeah, I hope everything is clear. I'm sorry once again, I have not covered altcoins. I might do it. I mean, I've talked about them many times. I've talked about what I'm expecting on Solana, which is 230. I've talked about mostly hype, which I was expecting above $50. I mean, I literally gave you 1, 2, 3 long trades, and we are now above $50, so that's perfect. As you can see, I've made over $3,000, almost 4,000 on hype, longing at 39 and holding until 51. And I will be holding, honestly, this until I see a sign of weakness. I even gave you a short trade right here that I was always talking about. The typical setup I tell you about. Go above all-time high, look for a failed auction, take the short trade. Obviously, then you have to keep in mind that we are in a bull market, so you do want to be taking profit quickly, because once this finds support, it tends to bounce. So yeah, I'm not going to keep covering more altcoins because I'm very busy. I am actually moving to Madrid. I just got a new house, so I will be busy with that until, I don't know, another week or so. And then once I will be settled in Madrid, you can expect many more videos, many more updates, and much more trading. So if you're interested in joining the Discord and you are new, I will leave the link in bio. I will remind you that it's free, so you don't need to pay anything in order to follow my signals. And this will be the channel where I send everything. As you can see, I do constant updates. So if you want to remain up to date rather than wait for videos. So yeah, I hope everything is clear, and I will see you in the next update.